Imagine for a moment that you are standing in your veterinarian's office. You have just paid a significant amount of money for an annual checkup. Your cat is sitting nervously in its carrier, and the vet looks over the chart, smiles, and tells you that everything looks great. They tell you to keep doing what you are doing. They might even give your cat a little treat from the jar on the counter to reward them for being so good during the examination. You leave that office feeling relieved, feeling like a responsible pet parent who has done everything right. But what if I told you that the very thing that just happened in that room, that seemingly innocent gesture, that little reward, could actually be the single most dangerous thing you are giving your cat? What if the treat that your vet just handed you, the one that is marketed as healthy and safe, is actually a ticking time bomb for your cat's internal organs? You see, the pet food industry is a multi-billion-dollar machine, and it runs on marketing, not on biology. We trust our vets implicitly, and rightfully so, but the reality is that veterinary schools are often heavily influenced by the major pet food corporations. In fact, a significant portion of the nutritional education that vets receive is funded by the very companies that produce the food and treats lining the shelves of your local grocery store. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It is a documented conflict of interest that has been investigated by veterinary ethicists for years. They are taught to look for diseases to diagnose symptoms, but the deep, granular understanding of feline nutritional biochemistry often takes a backseat to the practicalities of selling a prescription diet or recommending a brand that the clinic has a contract with. This brings us to the single most dangerous, safe treat that your vet won't tell you about: commercial dental treats. Yes, those crunchy little biscuits that promise fresh breath and clean teeth. They are the number one culprit behind a silent, creeping epidemic that is robbing our cats of years of healthy life, and most owners and even some vets have absolutely no idea it is happening. On the surface, they seem like a no-brainer. You pop the bag open and it smells vaguely like chicken or fish, but with an underlying chemical sweetness. You give one to your cat and they gobble it up enthusiastically. They look happy. You feel happy. You are bonding. But while that is happening, a massive biological disruption is taking place inside your cat's digestive system. The primary issue here is carbohydrates. To bind those ingredients together into that cute little star or fish shape, the manufacturers have to use a massive amount of starch. We are talking about corn, wheat, and rice flour. In the wild, a cat's natural diet consists of about 90% animal protein, 5% fat, and maybe 2% carbohydrates, and that carbohydrate comes from the partially digested stomach contents of their prey, not from grains. When you introduce a high-carbohydrate treat into a cat's system, you are forcing their pancreas to work overtime. Cats are obligate carnivores. Their bodies are designed to run on fat and protein. They are not designed to process glucose efficiently. In fact, their livers lack the necessary enzymatic pathways to deal with a sudden influx of sugar and starch. Over time, this chronic, daily spike in blood sugar leads to hyperinsulinemia, which is a fancy way of saying that the pancreas is pumping out so much insulin to try and bring that blood sugar down that it essentially starts to burn out. This is the absolute perfect recipe for type 2 diabetes, a condition that is becoming alarmingly prevalent in domestic cats. But the story gets even darker, and this is where it becomes truly sinister. We all know that cats are masters of disguise when it comes to pain. They are stoic predators, and in the wild, showing weakness gets you killed. By the time a cat shows you symptoms of illness, they have often been suffering for a very long time. The same principle applies to their kidneys. These dental treats are often loaded with synthetic preservatives and artificial colors to make them look appetizing to us, the owners. We like the way they look. We like the way they smell. But these chemical compounds, specifically things like BHA, BHT, and ethoxyquin, are nephrotoxic. This means they are toxic to the kidneys. Every time your cat crunches down on one of these treats, a tiny amount of that chemical enters their bloodstream. The kidneys, which are the filtration system of the body, have to work incredibly hard to flush these toxins out. Over the years, the microscopic filters inside the kidneys, called nephrons, start to die off. They are scarred by the constant chemical assault. And here is the tragic part. By the time your cat hits the age of 10 or 12 and they start drinking a lot of water, losing weight, and throwing up, the vet tests them and delivers the devastating diagnosis of chronic kidney disease. The vet will tell you that it is just an inevitable part of aging. They will say it is simply wear and tear. They will tell you that you did nothing wrong. But the statistics show that cats didn't used to die of kidney failure at these rates. We have literally bred it into them, and we are accelerating it with the very treats we use to show our love. Now, moving on to the second major danger hiding in plain sight, let's talk about the dental health myth. The marketing on these bags is brilliant. It says reduces tartar, cleans teeth, dental health formula. But here is the biological reality. A cat's teeth are designed to shear meat, to crush bone, and to tear sinew. They are not designed to be smashed against a hard, dry, extruded pellet. When a cat tries to bite down on a hard dental treat, the pressure is immense. It can easily cause microfractures in their teeth, especially in the carnassial teeth at the back of the mouth. These tiny fractures provide a breeding ground for bacteria. Instead of cleaning the teeth, the treat is actually wedging sugar and starch into the crevices of the gums, leading to gingivitis and stomatitis, which is a painful inflammation of the entire mouth. The only way to remove tartar mechanically is through actual friction, like you get with a toothbrush or a raw meaty bone. These treats dissolve and shatter. They don't have enough abrasive quality to scrape off plaque, but they do have enough hard density to break a tooth. I have seen so many cases where owners are baffled because their cat suddenly stopped eating, only to discover an abscess that started from a cracked tooth caused by a dental treat. The irony is crushing. You are feeding them something to prevent dental disease, and it is causing irreversible dental trauma that requires expensive surgical extraction. Another surprising sign that these treats are toxic to your cat lies not in the ingredients, but in the behavior they cause. Have you ever noticed that after eating a commercial treat, your cat goes nuts for about 30 minutes? They might run around the house, meow excessively, or become incredibly clingy. Most owners think this is adorable. They think the cat is just happy and showing appreciation for the snack. In truth, that is a sugar high. It is a glucose spike followed by a massive crash. It is the same physiological response a human child has when they eat too much candy. But for a cat, this neurological spike can be disorienting. It triggers their stress response. Cats are creatures of habit and stability. Their nervous systems prefer a steady state. When you pump them full of sugars and synthetic flavors, you are messing with their brain chemistry. This can lead to behavioral issues like aggression, anxiety, and obsessive-compulsive disorders. If you have a cat that overgrooms or pulls out its own fur or suddenly attacks your ankles for no reason, you need to look at what is in their food bowl. These treats are literally making them feel unstable, like their body is on fire with inflammation. So what are you supposed to do? You love your cat. You want to give them something special. The act of giving a treat is a bonding ritual. It is a moment of connection. You cannot just take that away and give them nothing. You need a replacement. The healthy alternative is not expensive, and it is actually easier than you think. The safest, healthiest treat you can give your cat is actually pure freeze-dried meat. Look at the ingredient list. It should literally just say one word: chicken. Or salmon. Or rabbit. That is it. No starches, no grains, no synthetic colors, no preservatives. Pure protein is the fuel that a cat's body is designed to burn. It supports their lean muscle mass, it keeps their blood sugar stable, and it provides moisture if you rehydrate it with a little water. In fact, transitioning your cat to freeze-dried treats or even raw meaty pieces like a small chunk of raw chicken heart is the single best thing you can do for their dental and physical health. The act of chewing real meat provides the necessary abrasive friction to clean the teeth naturally without the risk of breaking them. It satisfies their predatory instinct. It engages their brain. Let's talk about what this does for their mental health. When you feed your cat a diet that mimics what they evolved to eat, you are doing more than just preventing diabetes and kidney disease. You are satisfying a primal urge. Cats have an innate need to hunt, kill, and consume. When you just pour a bag of kibble into a bowl, you are bypassing that entire psychological loop. But when you give them a treat that is a piece of actual meat, something that smells like prey, you are activating their olfactory senses. They use their Jacobson's organ to analyze the scent. They are deeply engaged in the process. It reduces their stress. It makes them more confident. It creates a cat that is physically healthier and mentally calmer. Now you might be thinking, but my vet told me I need to give them these dental treats to prevent periodontal disease. And this is where you need to be a little bit of a detective. There are studies funded by the Veterinary Oral Health Council, but you need to look closely at who funds the VOHC. It is the manufacturers. They are the ones paying for the seal of approval. It is a marketing tactic. The clinical trials for these treats often measure plaque reduction on a single tooth over a 6-week period, but they completely ignore the long-term systemic effects of the ingredients on the entire body. They ignore the blood work. They ignore the insulin spikes. They ignore the kidney scarring that takes years to manifest. Think about the emotional connection you have with your cat. They are part of your family. They sit on your lap while you watch TV. They wake you up in the morning with a gentle purr. They give you comfort and unconditional love. They don't understand that you are trying to keep their teeth clean. They only know that they trust you. They trust that the food you put in their bowl is safe. When you look into their eyes and you see that trust, you have to ask yourself, is that little biscuit really worth the trade-off? Is the convenience of a bag of treats from the grocery store worth the possibility of watching your cat suffer from a preventable chronic illness?